Hello, folks. Welcome back to CR's Principles and Testimonies. I'm your host, Jason. I know it's been a minute, but I've recently acquired really a side job, if that's what you want to call it. But I've been rather busy, and so today we are going to be doing Principle 6 testimony from the Celebrate Recovery's Leadership Guide. If you don't mind, hit that like button. It really helps my channel grow. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe if you would like, and the notification bell if you want all new material done by the AA Big Book Stories and the CR Principles and Testimonies. Today's video is brought to you by James 414 Vape Sales. That's James 414 Vape Sales. They're out of Mount Vernon, Kentucky. They're out there on 461 on the way to Somerset, Kentucky. And I'm sporting Troy Polamalu t-shirt today. I'm a big Steelers fan. Yeah, I'm eventually going to need a new mod, and the vape store sells it all. It's vape heaven, I call it. And with that, let's just jump into it. This is the Principle 6 testimony. Sorry. How is everybody? My name is Linda, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who struggles with sexual, physical, and emotional abuse and codependency. I was born in Iowa and raised in a Christian home. My family moved to California when I was 4 years old, so I've spent most of my life in Southern California. My dad read the Bible and we prayed together every night after dinner. I attended Sunday school, sang in the church choir, attended Caseyism, I think that's how you spell it, and went to a Christian school until my junior year of high school. I was one of 6 children born in the middle of the pack. Our parents took us to church twice every Sunday. I learned from a very young age that God was my friend. I memorized a lot of Bible verses and had always talked directly to Him. During my high school years, my dad and mom worked hard and left us girls in charge of taking care of the house and getting dinner ready every night. Since I was the oldest of the girls at the home, I felt responsible for organizing the workload so everyone would get along. I thought it was my job to make everything perfect and make everyone happy. I used my organizational skills to my advantage to control my siblings. I also learned to be a people pleaser. I did what I thought would make people happy, like me and accept me. I didn't know that codependency would become a crippling issue in my life. My family may have looked good when we went to church, but everybody ignored the real elephant that was in the middle of the room. My dad had a serious anger issues that made us young girls run to our room in fear at times. My mom was a perfect codependent who taught us to wear our mask wherever we went and that we should not talk about the things that happened in our house. I met my first boyfriend when I was a freshman in high school. He came from a dysfunctional family where his dad was both verbally and physically abusive. His mother was a model of codependency. We had what was a perfect candidate for me to fix. For the next 4 years, I tried to rescue my boyfriend from his struggles with his dad and his family issues. I thought I could fix him into what I wanted, the perfect boyfriend. And I even thought I could make him quit smoking pot. While he was away serving in the army, he proposed to me, and we were married in 1974. After the wedding, we immediately moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where he was stationed. Our our first few months seemed to be going along okay until I found out that my new husband was still smoking pot with his army buddies. I felt betrayed, lied to, disappointed, and I was ready to pack up and move back to California. As I was making final plans to leave, I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. I thought, now I'm really stuck. I called out to God to help me through this. My husband begged me to stay, so I set up what I thought would be some realistic boundaries. We would go to church. He could not use family funds to continue his drug addiction, and not use he could not stash his drugs around the house or bring them around me or the baby. Although I now realize I continued to enable his addiction to illegal drugs, at that time I thought I was in complete control of the situation. Wow, what a codependent I had become, just like my mom. I thought this was going to be the best situation at this point. I was able to let go and let God. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Be strong and courageous, and do not be afraid to or terrified because of them. The Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." Over the next 18 years, we relocated back to Southern California, where we had three more children. I became a stay-at-home mom with my kids. I had two girls and two boys, 3 years apart in age, just like I had planned. And again, the insanity of my control issues. These years were spent covering up and enabling my husband's drug addiction. I was constantly making excuses for his missing work, not attending family functions, and not going to church. Excuse me. His drug addiction became completely out of control, but whenever I brought it up, it triggered anger. Excuse me. It triggered anger in him and fear in me. Essentially, denial took over our lives. I was settling for his excuses because I did not want my four kids to have divorced parents. I wanted the perfect family and finally realized that I was living a double life. There, there was our life at church where everyone thought our family was perfect, and this was the picture that I wanted them to see. Then there was the life at home where nothing was perfect. My denial had completely consumed me and my life. I felt powerless, that there was no hope for me beyond the life I was living. My daily verbal and emotional abuse was overwhelming. This was the same pattern I had seen many years before. Then one day, while in a drug induced rage, my husband attacked me and raped me. I told him that the kids were in the room, to which he replied, "Good, they can stand and watch." I felt ashamed, powerless, completely embarrassed, and humiliated. A loving friend to me, a loving friend said to me, "Look what you're doing to your kids. What you have exposed them to will cause them to end up hating you and blaming you one day," which it did. But as I've heard at Celebrate Recovery, it takes three things to cause change: fear, pain, and catastrophe. My life had become one in which I feared my husband. I was in pain due to the abuse, and the rape was the catastrophe. Now I had the perfect storm, but still it was hard for me to make the final decision to end the marriage. I suggested we go to counseling. He always We always went together for one or two sessions, but then he stopped and said, I was the one with the problem. We had went through 3 or 4 different counselors and heard the same thing from them all. Until he wanted to change, nothing was going to be different. I finally understood that this was the end of our marriage. It was time for me to change, but how? I did follow through on the divorce, but life was not easy for years afterward. I became independent and worked both full-time job and extra house cleaning jobs I could find to provide for me and the kids. I was filling my life with resentments over all of my issues and all of the denial that I had lived with for so long. Guilt was taking over. When my life started to change for the better, I changed churches and got involved in doing things that I knew would connect me back to a better life and provide structure for the kids, such as singing in the choir and joining a Bible study. In May of 1996, I met a man while working for a company in Orange County. We seemed to get along and had a great relationship over the phone in lack of my self-esteem. I started to think something was wrong with me because he didn't ask me out until 5 months later. We dated for 4 years, and during that time, we shared some of our own challenges, including interference from our respective ex-spouses and the influence that they had on our children. We even got to the point of breaking up a couple of times during our dating. We attended a remarriage workshop and found that our compatibility was strong. We learned how blended families work and how we needed to support each other in our roles. We also we also each had a strong personal relationship with God, and I was encouraged that our relationship was what God had planned. During this time, he explained a lot of his past and very open about his family dysfunction as well as his former alcohol and drug abuse. I wondered why I was attracted to another alcoholic and drug addict, but I decided that I was back in my comfort zone of being in control again. I believe that I was actually becoming an encouragement to his walk. After all, he must be okay because he had gone over 10 years without using drug or alcohol. We married on September 16, 2000. My life was perfect. Not. My husband was working and traveling out of town a lot. Our honeymoon came to a screeching halt one evening in April 2001, just 7 months after our wedding, when we got custody of our four grandkids. This caused over time a lot of stress on our marriage. In January 2002, just 30 days after moving into our new home in Chenaway, California, my husband had his first heart attack. This could not be happening. I thought this move could be perfect for the grandkids and wanted to have this guy around for a while. Now I was facing major health issues with him, and again I thought I could fix this. He recovered and we were doing well. And then just 6 weeks after my husband was released to go back to work, he had his second heart attack. I stood and watched as the ER team shocked him 3 times to bring him back. I was overwhelmed with emotion, and my whole life was turning upside down. I did not know where to turn for help as we just moved into a new home and I didn't know anyone. And then it got worse. He lost his job. Why was this happening to me? All of this turmoil, and then a few months later in 2003, my husband dropped the bomb. He told me that he didn't want to be married to me anymore. I was hurt and overwhelmed with questions. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? How was I going to make it through this one? I certainly didn't know how to fix it. All of the old feelings of self-esteem, doubt, fear, and guilt were back. We tried counseling, and during one of the sessions one evening, he actually told me that he didn't love me anymore. He was disconnected from everything: the grandkids, church, recovery, me, everything that I thought that mattered to the both of us. I was devastated and needed help to get through this time. I had to turn back to trusting God. Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with the joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." I spoke with my pastor, who helped me set up a meeting for my husband with someone from Celebrate Recovery. After the meeting with his sponsor and After meeting with his sponsor and continued Christian counseling, my husband's attitude began to change, and praise God, over a period of time, the man I married was back. This whole experience helped me to understand more about Celebrate Recovery, but I still didn't know how important it would become in our lives together. I realized that this was not just my husband's problem, I had a role in it too. We both needed the connection to the community that we had stopped when we moved out of the area. Coming to Celebrate Recovery and going through step studies groups had shown me that it's okay not to be perfect. God loves me just the way He created me. He helped me to heal from the fear and the pain of my past, and also to show me how to forgive those who have hurt me. Ephesians 4:31 and 32 says, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling, and slander, although with every form, along with every form of malice." Excuse me. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ forgave you. God continues to show me how to trust Him with everything in my life. When things get tough, I am relearning how to let go and let God. I have also learned how to be that being submissive in my marriage means to duck so that God can hit my husband over the head. That God will get his attention and do the fixing that I don't have to. Each week I get the opportunity to watch miracles happen, relationships restored, marriages rebuilt, and lives changed. God is a great miracle worker and a great healer. I look forward to every Wednesday when I get to go to Celebrate Recovery. I know that it is a safe place for me. I know that even though there is tough thing called life that continues to show up, I have a place where I can share my experiences, strengths, and hopes with others. Romans 15:4 says, "For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance taught in the scriptures and the encouragement they provide, we might have hope." God has even given me the opportunity to serve as the encourager in the Celebrate Recovery team, as a leader in step studies groups and Wednesday Celebrate Recovery open share groups. 13 years ago, when I became involved with Celebrate Recovery, I had no idea that the tools that I would be learning would help me deal with the issues that would continue to come up in my life and the issues that I had not yet dealt with. I wish I could tell you that my story ends here. I am still recovering. I am still in recovery for a purpose. Remembering that I introduced myself as struggling with sex, physical, and emotional abuse. In July 2011, I was going to be faced again with, yes, the elephant that was still in the middle of the room. It was never went away, it just got bigger. This time I dropped the bomb, on my husband one afternoon after a weekend away with my sisters. I asked him to talk with me. I had something I wanted to share. I had buried the issue that I was molested by a family member when I was a young girl. I didn't know what to expect from my husband, but I was afraid it was going to mess up our relationship and get ugly. Instead, I was met with love and support and an attitude of understanding. We started he stated that he would do whatever it took to get me through this newest challenge in our marriage. I had assumed a level of guilt as a result of the molestation because I thought that if I had only said something earlier in life, the molestation of others would not have continued. The same the same predator continued the sexual abuse with several other female family members and was also hurting other people. Other people's relationships. I did not try to explain these issues a few years ago to I I did try to explain these issues to a few years ago to my mom, but received no support from her. Principle 6 says, evaluate all my relationship, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I have done to others, except when to do so would harm, injure them or others. Happy are the merciful, Matthew 5:7. Happy are the peacemakers, Matthew 5:9. I have since confronted my perpetrator and have expressed forgiveness toward him, something I never thought I would be able to do without the tools that I have learned in Celebrate Recovery. I have also learned that I get to release the shame and the guilt that come with being molested, and I no longer let that rule me or my decisions. Colossians 3:13 says, "Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have grievance with someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you." I still have a long way to go. More healing is necessary, but I know there is a safe place where I can go and share my issues with others who have similar hurts in their past. I desire to be an example of hope for others who struggle with abuse like these. Another key area where Celebrate Recovery has played a huge role is when I lost my sister Bonnie, who went to heaven to be with Jesus in 2011. The outpouring of love and support from the Celebrate Recovery team has allowed me to grieve appropriately. I am always being aware that my forever family continues to grow beyond what I ever thought it could be. Today I get to serve side by side with my husband as we share passion for recovery and try to be the best examples of God's mercy, grace, and love toward others. It is my desire to be the best wife, mother, nana, and the leader that I can be. I walk with joy that is in me and with hope that others will step out of the denial and into God's grace. In closing, God never wastes a hurt, and He wants me to share our victories and to be an example of His unending mercy and grace to others. Thank you for letting me share. All right, I really have enjoyed the CR principles and testimonies and making my way through Celebrate Recovery's leadership guide. I think I'm gonna rename the channel the Dream Team because this is Celebrate Recovery and the AA program is a way of helping you establish your dreams. And plus, it's a reference to an old video game, which I dearly love. Yeah. So until next time, one Celebrate Recovery time, one Celebrate Recovery place, and one Celebrate Recovery time. Or Recovery channel, sorry. Dream Team, over and out. Thank you guys.